Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear
Hey,
you.
yes.
Oh, oh, because I'm just testing my headphones. Just give me a second. I'm going to fix this. But in the meantime, feel free to retweet the tweet above there and tweet this out, and we'll get the conversation going in just a moment. Just a second. All right, now I'm testing again. Can you hear me this time?
Sound all good.
Very good. I just want to make sure I can hear you in my ear versus on my phone. So there we go. Headphones are now working. Okay, well, welcome everybody to our Power Connection chat today. And today we're going to talk about encouraging women and empowering women and encouraging men to be better allies. So it's kind of talking to both, but I want to make sure that as we are in Women's History Month, and International Women's Day is approaching on, I believe, on Wednesday. I want to make sure that everyone is able to have this discussion about that. That's why I kind of brought up the topic. Hope the topic aligns with you, and if you are liking it, feel free to invite more people to the conversation so we can get this thing going. So yeah, I mean, but otherwise, let's just do a bit of a check-in. Indra, how are you? How was your weekend?
Oh, hey, Bobby. Great. Wonderful weekend. Very productive indeed with the spring cleaning and getting my plants all organized. So it was it was
Oh,
a
how do you
nice
organize
weekend.
plants? You organize them by height or a name? Like, what do you do?
Well, actually,
Oh,
color
color
coded.
coded. Okay.
So it was lots of fun, particularly the plants, which it's my home is turning into a jungle inside and outside. So I'll leave it there. Over to you, Melanie.
I'm yeah, my mom was a good gardener. I'm not so much. I haven't really ventured out into that space yet. So yeah, no, it was a good weekend. Just trying to, still get settled for my move from, beginning of February. That just takes a while. And yeah, we're just trying to stay on top of business. Business has been busy and lots of job seekers, so trying to make things happen.
Yeah, I had a very busy weekend, although I'll say that I had a little bit of a I had a stressful week last week for some event that kind of fell apart, but something else that happened this weekend, which was a little bit sad, which is my son's violin recital. He'd been practicing this thing for 3 months, and he was normally, he's a teenager, so sometimes he doesn't practice very often, but he was all ready to be the finale of his recital because he's one of the older students, and the piano player screwed up, and it wrecked the rhythm and tempo of the piece, and he was really, really bummed out about it because it's a 2 minute long piece. In the first minute, it was completely like they were misaligned, and he couldn't keep up with Niall, even though he said he would. But then they finally synced, and then the last half sounded amazing, like oh, it was so good. But he was clearly upset, and afterwards, he was just so. And it reminded me of like someone who's an Olympic gold medalist or a contender, and they're in a big race for the finals, and then all of a sudden three people trip, and three of them fall, and something else happens, and you can't help it. Like there's nothing you can do about it, right? It's just what happens. And so he was really bummed out, and we were consoling him outside and trying to make him feel better. Bought him some ice cream. So but it was a very interesting thing because I realized, I mean, I realized a couple things. One, this meant a lot to him because he practiced really hard for 3 months, and this is his one chance to kind of show this in a performance in front of everybody because he wanted to, which was nice. So that's why he was disappointed. And the second thing was, he also was a trooper because he plowed through what got done. Then after he was over, he took a bow. He went to sit with his mom and was mentioning being upset, and then he only really broke down until he got outside and talked about it with me and his mom about it. So yeah, it was just really really emotional thing, but it made me think about that, and it's something I'll probably talk about because I think watching your kids and encouraging them to be better and helping them out and supporting them, I think is a really important thing. So, yeah, just want to share that little itty bitty story. But let's get to the topic today, which is empowering women and encouraging men to be better allies. And this is like two pieces. One is, how do we empower women to share their voice, to feel, supported, to feel encouraged? And then, of course, what are the challenges around encouraging men to be better allies? But we'll start with introductions for everybody. So, Indra, why don't you go and introduce yourself, then pass it on to Melanie? Or Melanie can go first and pass on to Indra.
Okay, I'll do that. Hi, everyone. Welcome. My name is Melanie Mitchell Wexler. I am a career coach, job search expert, and a LinkedIn strategist. And I work with professionals throughout North America, helping them with everything from their resumes to their LinkedIn profiles and LinkedIn branding, as well as helping them identify job searches and the strategy to use to land their next career. So super excited to be here. This is it's always an important topic all year round, not just for the month of March, but so I'm excited to see what comes out of it today. And I'll pass it over to Indra.
Thanks so much, Melanie. I was tweeting out, talking about the space. Sorry about that. So, hey everyone, I'm Indra Bartona, a producer in the film and television industry. I'm also the founder of the Positivity Vibe Tribe. It's a global community where we talk about how to live a more positive lifestyle because every day is a challenge. And we've just heard some challenges right here at the beginning of this space. So there's never going to be a perfect day, but we can certainly enhance our living and our day by making it more positive. So we run spaces on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time and on Thursday at 9 sorry, that was 12 p.m. and then 9 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on Thursdays. So join us for the Positivity Vibe Tribe. Back over to you, Bobby.
Awesome, thanks, guys. And Melanie and Indra have been my co-hosts for this Twitter space regularly, which I appreciate. We do the Power of Connection chat every Monday at 11 a.m. And today, actually, we're going to go short because I have a webinar that's happening at 12 o'clock specifically for the 5-day Thought Leadership Branding Challenge, which I'm doing it again, but now it's a free series of replays for people if you want to access the training that I did back in January. So I'll post that in the links up above. If you're here now, if you can retweet above and let people tag me, then I can retweet it and more people come to the room. That would be great. We'd love to have more people here. I'm going to start by saying, first off, my name is Bobby Omar. I'm a professional speaker. I'm a 5-time TEDx speaker. I've traveled around the world and done 1,000 keynotes and workshops across 4 continents. And my focus is on leadership, thought leadership, personal branding, and digital marketing and authentic relationships. And the reason why the topic is important to me is because, again, as someone who tries to be an ally in all sorts of ways, this is International Women's Day is coming up. This is Women's History Month, and so talking about that and how we can help them is an important piece. And I'm just going to say 2 things about this. Number one, how do I empower women? Well, I'm taking action to give them chances to speak and share their stories. Number one, this room, for example, is one where I gladly take on and support Indra and Melanie to be my co-hosts. I welcome women on stage. I take topics that are specifically addressed to champion support women. That's one thing I do. Another example is this Wednesday, I'm doing a live stream on LinkedIn, which will also stream to Twitter and YouTube and Facebook, but it's mostly on LinkedIn. But I'm doing one called Outstanding Women who stand up for women. And it's a live stream with 3 really amazing LinkedIn influencers. Sweta Regmi, who has 200,000 followers on LinkedIn, she's an influencer. And then Diana Chan and Kamara Tafalo, who are both LinkedIn top voices. And all 3 of them are my friends. All 3 of them are Canadian, but 2 of them I know really personally, and the other one I met on LinkedIn. But I'm going to do a live stream talking about them and how they empower women and champion equity and all that kind of stuff. So for me, that's how I do it. The other thing I do to empower women is I call out men. I call out toxic men or men who have the wrong idea, or sometimes just some women have the wrong idea too. But mostly, I focus on the men to do that, and I try to champion the idea of diversity and equity and inclusion, and all that kind of stuff. So for me, it's important for men to call out other men. So for me, that's kind of what I would do to help empower women, but giving them a space for voices and showcasing their voice. I was also doing an event end this month, and the goal was it was going to be a LinkedIn local meetup to empower women, and I brought in some really well-known political leaders in the Toronto space, but that the event eventually unfortunately fell apart, partially because of some cancel culture type vitriol from Twitter, which is unfortunate. So what I might do instead is actually one of the panelists said, why don't we do a topic specifically on cancel culture and how that definitely affects women on platforms where there is a lot of challenges and systemic constraints. So I thought that might be a good thing we could do. So I'm happy to maybe shift into that type of event, and we'll see how that goes. And then empowering men to be better allies. Yeah, I mean, here's the thing. Like, I post stuff on LinkedIn, I post stuff on Facebook, I post stuff on Twitter, and Instagram. Actually, just yesterday, I had an Instagram issue. Someone was, you know, and people often comment, or they message me, or they reply with a tweet, and just an overwhelming majority of the people who have either something terrible to say, or the wrong to say, or the misguided, or ignorant, or naive, or not helpful thing to say are men. Usually, cis hetero white men, but men in general. And so I take it upon myself to inform them, educate them, and tell them, look, you need to try to understand where people are coming from. You need to understand the importance of systemic challenges. You need to understand how we have certain privilege as men. You need to understand that, instead of talking to your friends about this, why don't you talk to the people who are actually involved or dealing with this? Just yesterday, someone told me about how they didn't understand, um, uh, drag performers reading stories to kids. And everything he said to me was just so full of bias and talking points and rhetoric from, right wing type places and he was saying stuff that just wasn't true. And I was like, and I was like, dude, inform yourself, talk to people. And I had to call him out. I said, I messaged him 3 times. I mean, 3 times, and that's it for me. But I just said, look, you're not reading the article I'm saying, you're not listening to what I'm saying. You keep saying spouting the same stuff. If you really want to understand it, talk to the people that are there. Or how about this? Why don't you make this a public post and see if people can inform you, because you're probably afraid to, because you probably know deep down inside that your remarks and your points of view are a little bit tainted. And I do that publicly too on LinkedIn. If someone like Melanie, if someone says I'm mean to Melanie in a misogynist way, oh, I'd be after them in a second, and Melanie knows that. I would do that. And same thing on Twitter. So I try to defend my friends and colleagues, or anyone that I see that's being treated unfairly. So for me, we encourage men to be allies because most of them need education on privilege, need education on the systemic challenges, they need to understand how it is daily for a woman versus it is for a man, because there's certain things that happen on a daily basis for them that men need to understand. So one of the reasons I say encouraging men to be better allies is I've always learned from my family, from other friends, is that it's okay for us to fight for our own rights, but who's going to fight for us when, like, we should fight for everybody who is marginalized, oppressed, or has challenges. I think it's important for us to stand up, call it out, and to encourage everyone to fight for them, because then when it's our turn, who's going to help support us? So I'm really big on trying to do that. We need to be allies for everybody that has felt marginalized, oppressed. And so that's why, for me, a big part of what I do is encouraging men to be better allies. So I wanted to hear, and if you want to come on stage and share your own thoughts, your own experience, or maybe something you've kind of dealt with, I'd love to hear from you. For now, and I know someone's already on stage, which we appreciate, but I'm going to go to Andrew and Melanie first to share their take on empowering women and encouraging men.
Thanks so much, Bobby. And I do want to say that you are really a great example of this, even the heading of the space, because of the fact of, look, here we are, Melanie and I sitting here, we're here like every week, and so there's two of us versus one of you. So already you are leading by example, and I think that's really what we need to be doing in general. LinkedIn has 70% male, as in the imbalance of men to women, and so already that means that there's a lot more men on Twitter, and so there's already this imbalance over here on the Twitterverse. So so anything other than that, I mean, already the content, that means so 70% more content is going to be visually of men's accounts. So already there's this imbalance, but not that that means that our account still can't grow, but certainly even with visibility, there's another consideration to make. So and to consider that there is going to be a difference already, because for whatever reason, not that many women come over to Twitter. I have been also inviting some friends over to Twitter, and I think it's a lot different to what they've been on. I mean, Instagram is really different because it's more visual. People want to post their photos. There's more of a different kind of fun element because of that. Although Twitter is becoming like that, and there is a lot of visual. And I know Bobby posts videos here. I post videos. We both post visuals here. So I think the thing is that don't be discouraged if if you're a woman and you've turned up over here. Do what you want to make it your account, and pretty much by doing that, you're going to attract your tribe. You're going to attract people to your account that are enjoying your content by doing that. But thank you so much, Bobby, for leading by example. It's really noted. It's really appreciated everywhere you go over here, even on LinkedIn. I mean, it's really appreciated. So over to you, Melanie.
Definitely, I reiterate that. I mean, first off, just having a space, having a place where you can, be able to come and show up, that's first and foremost. So thank you for that. And then, I think the biggest thing too is that we need to empower ourselves first and foremost. Sort of kind of what Indra was saying there is not to be afraid to show up. I come from a very long line of very strong women, but rule breakers in a lot of sense. And to give you a sense, my grandmother was the first female graduate of University of Missouri Medical School. She put off having children in this, until she had my mom when she was 40. My grandfather was actually, he was a cattleman, but he was also a stay-at-home dad. And so this was all back in the times that these things weren't happening. So, but this goes back to my great grandparents of really encouraging their daughters to break the norms and not to do not to do what was expected. So I think when we start to encourage ourselves to do that, and it's funny, I've kind of had to give myself, because I tend to be much more shyer than the women that have been in my family, but not being afraid to pursue things, not being afraid just to show up, and it's something that I encourage. I haven't had to encourage my daughter; she's just always been that way since day one. But we ride the ride with her, and so that's something that I think as women we have to do. And then for men, I think honestly the big thing that I would say, and this goes back to what you were saying, Bobby, sometimes we have to stop talking and we need to listen. And we just need to listen to what others are saying. We need to listen to their stories and their perspectives and just be, even if we disagree, just not say a word, but take in the words and just say, you know what, I can appreciate where you're coming from. Maybe I still don't see it or understand it because I haven't walked in those shoes or I don't quite agree with your stance, but can we just appreciate it? And so I think listening is a underutilized skill, especially active listening, that we need to do more of nowadays, more than ever. And so that's kind of my initial take on this.
Sorry, can I clarify something,
Yeah,
Melanie? Which is, you were saying listen to their point of view. Did you mean listen to men's point of view,
no,
or to
just
encourage
like
men to listen to
I
women's
think
point of
men
view?
need to listen to women's point of view. And
Yeah, I
honestly, and
agree.
I
Okay,
think
I want to be clear on
yeah,
that.
and also I think women need to listen to other women. I mean, you and I had that conversation just the other day that sometimes women are not necessary. Women can also not be allies with one another, and then we wonder why we're still struggling. I just like here in the US, Pew Research Center did the fact that we're still having a gender pay gap of it's 82 cents. Men earn 82 cents to every dollar that women do, and that hasn't moved in over the course of the last year. We have to first unite together and support one another. So I think listening, whether it's men or women, we need to honestly listen more, and we need to engage more with that. But we also need to kind of find some common ground to support one another, because I truly believe that's really the only way we're going to make some inroads into some of the things that we see in corporate America in particular.
Yeah, I agree. I think that again, having more of these conversations and talking about it will go a long way. There's also an aspect of education too, and so I think for a lot of us, to me, the big you mentioned a really good point. The biggest challenge to me is encouraging more men to be allies and to support that, because from what I've learned and growing up from my family is like it's important to get allies to support the cause too, versus just amongst ourselves. And you also make a really good point about infighting too, like all different types of groups, whether it's women or people of color or queer people. There's people within their groups that there's a little bit of infighting, and so that kind of makes things a little bit challenging, which is kind of what happened with the event I was doing last week that kind of fell apart because I had these four women going to be in this event, and one woman didn't like one of the women on the panel and started saying all this stuff, and it's like, okay. And next thing you know, it just kind of fell apart, which is unfortunate, because I would rather have plowed through and just did it, despite the fact that three or four people on Twitter all of a sudden said we can't do that. So it does become a bit of a challenge. Looks like Simran's already left, so I guess I was going to get to her next. But if anybody else wants to come on stage, I see some really awesome people in the audience. If you'd like to come on stage, put your hand up. Let's get you into this conversation. We'd love to hear your thoughts. We'd love to hear your take. If you'd like to ask a question, that would be great. And again, I encourage all of you, please, if you could, we'd love for you to share this event. So you click on the arrow on the top, you can share it in a tweet, you can tag me, Indra and Melanie. If you do so and you say, hey, come listen to Bobby and Indra and Melanie talk about this topic, then what will happen is I'll see it, and next thing you know, I'll be able to retweet it to my 500,000 followers, which means that we'll get more people in the room, which means that you also get some followers. So it's a win-win. So all these reasons these are all reasons for you to come up on stage and also tweet it. You can also click the button on the bottom right there, the purple bubble there, to ask questions or share comments or share highlights of what you've heard today. I think that would be really helpful. And you can also DM people. So there's lots of ways to get people in this room and build it up, but we'd love to have more retweets and tweets to get people in the room. So with that, looks like two people join us on stage, which is great. Thank you so much. Let's go to Ali. Welcome to the stage. Please go ahead with your question or comment.
Thank you so much, Bobby. Thank you for setting it up. No, I'm here to listen and understand, as Melanie was saying. Listening is really important. When it comes to men, if they want to be better allies, I think that is the key for sure. And honestly, I'm learning. I'm in a learning curve right now, trying to understand, how I be a better ally when it comes to women empowerment and other things like those. Coming from a different background, especially grew up in different culture. When I say different, it's different than where I am right now in North America. So that is actually even more longer, I would say, journey in a way, because of the certain cultural things we have. When I was growing up. So, yeah, I would really like to listen more. And thank you so much for providing this opportunity. I'll try to chip in more if I could. Thank you so much.
Right, thanks for being here, and we appreciate your take. And again, I think it's good. It's good to have men come up and say, "Look, I need to do better. I need to learn." I think most of us, all of us, you need to be learning more and doing more. So, and one of the things about allyship is, and I've learned this from many of the amazing, powerful women that I associate with, is that allyship is not just a label of yourself. It's not something you say, "This is what I am." Allyship is a verb. Allyship is action. Allyship is what are you doing about it. You can say you're an ally, but what are you actually doing to advocate or call out or speak up or take action on things? So, if I'm going to be an ally for women or queer people or people of color or even the environment, like what actions am I taking to actually make that difference? I think that's an important piece to keep in mind. And Indra and Melanie, anytime you want to pipe up or say something, feel free to just unmic, and you're welcome to share anything you want.
Yeah. Ali, thank you so much for joining us. And I noticed there's other people that have joined us. So if you'd like to even share a comment or thought, there is a chat bubble down the bottom on the right-hand side, way down the bottom. Click on that and just, hey, hello, I'm enjoying the chat. I'm enjoying the conversation. Just anything. Just kind of feel like a part of this, even if you can't or are unable to speak. I did want to actually pick up on something that Melanie had mentioned, and I think it's really important. There's something that, look, that men have that we don't have as women, and that's this sports, this comradeship. It's more competitive between women, and I think it might be because there's less of us. We don't have these kind of common things like sports where our team can lose and then we're all like, oh, it doesn't matter, like we're good sports about it or anything. I think it's the competitive edge. And, even when you look at social media, even, the magazines on the stand, I mean, I don't buy any anymore because it's all online, but same thing, right? It's all about women looking amazing, and it's even the externals where it can be intimidating to other women. So it is very competitive between women, more so than supportive, and it would be wonderful if that could change, between us, and that has to be a mindset change, where we change what we're doing, because the thing is that at the moment, the men are the ones that are reaping benefits of the way that they operate and do their business because they're able to stick together. And I notice this particularly in the entertainment field, and I'm sure it's in many other fields as well. When I had a corporate job, I was the only female on my team. So, look, this is something that we need to be aware of. There has to be more women supporting women and encouraging women, because there's a lot of support going on from men. I have to say that I see, and not so much from women that I see. And I think this is a great example that we're sitting here and Bobby has two co-hosts. So I don't know when that's going to change for women, because it is very competitive, I feel, between women. But I would love it if it wouldn't be so much, because I think that, look, I think I read, and I can't remember which guru mentioned it, but a lot of the time when somebody is jealous of somebody, it's misdirected energy. It's actually that they would like to, they want those things. So all they have to do is realize that they want that, and they could learn from the person or connect with the person instead of finding it like it's a competitive thing. Like, turn that energy around, turn those emotions around, and look at it in a positive light. They're just some thoughts that I wanted to share.
Indra, I love what you just said in terms of, I absolutely agree. I mean, I came from corporate structure, corporate companies, and recruiting, which is very predominantly very male driven. I mean, like just to like, the very first company I ever worked for, which is a very renowned recruiting firm throughout the world. Back, this was just 23 years ago, at the very top, there were no women in high leadership positions. And in recruiting, you get very used to having to compete with one another. And so it's this mindset that you have to compete you in order to survive, to be very honest with you. And so one of the things that I noticed was a very hard transition for me when I started my coaching practice was I didn't connect with other coaches because that's just not the environment I basically had kind of professionally grown up in. What I will say is, once I started connecting with other coaches, both female and male coaches, there was a shift that started happening in my business. And so, because I was opening myself up to new ideas, I was opening myself up to new audiences, and I was starting to connect more. And, that's actually also happened by getting connected with the Thought Leadership Branding Club with Bobby, is that now I'm opening myself up from an entrepreneurial standpoint and expanding my business. And so when you find, having a community around you of women, both men and women that can help support you, I think is it's a game changer, and it's something that we don't encourage, especially in corporate America. We don't encourage that, but it's something that you really need to build those relationships and have a network and a supportive community to help promote you, but also you to promote them. So it goes both ways, but it's definitely a game changer when you do open yourself up to that.
I love that, Melanie. Thank you so much for that. Again, we're having a great conversation here, so thanks so much for everyone coming by. Next speaker is Shazadi. Go ahead with your question or comment today.
Hi, first of all, amazing space. I am joining you guys from Pakistan. And here, the feminist movement or the movement to empower women is still very young. The fight is exhausting. And so I'm part of a collective here, a collection of women that on 8th of March every year, and this year we're marching out on March 12th. And the idea is to make the public masses aware of what women empowerment entails, and to get women on the same playing ground in terms of rights, because we are way far behind than where we would like to be right now. And so it's not just a fight within the community or against, certain individuals or just the social ideology that exists here. We have to fight against the state as well, because I don't know if like people in this space would know this, but this year certain chapters of, and it's called Aurat March. Aurat is the term for woman in Urdu. So this year, Aurat March and the different chapters in different cities are being denied NOCs, and the fight for that is still going on. And I would like to absolutely 100% agree that there needs to be more solidarity within the women as well, because what we see a lot of here is internalized misogyny, where women who hail from different classes will just double down on this movement or just the idea of women getting empowerment. We see a lot of lack of understanding, and instead of coming together and joining together and trying to find out on what needs to be done, how can we move forward, how can we work together to alleviate the women, because the disparity in this country is not just based in gender. There's a lot of social disparity, and there's a lot of economic disparity as well. And taking that from an intersectional point of view, and understanding how women that are hailing from different social classes, how the trans people in this country are being treated, how bills that are being made to safeguard their rights are still sitting in senates, and they're getting a lot of backlash from different political parties and religious parties. And how religious minorities are being impacted. All of this is what we're working on, but we see a lot of fight, and it is very exhausting. And it would be a lot of help if people understood better how to become better allies, how if the internalized misogyny even inside women, because I can understand it is very hard to fight. You are growing up in a certain culture, you're growing up as part of a society that just doubles down on these very patriarchal concepts, and you're indoctrinated as a kid, and as you grow up, these are the values you keep passing down onto your kids, and fighting and unlearning is not an easy process. But I really, really hope that a lot of the people from my country, from where I hail from, they become a part of this space, and that they learn, and they learn the importance of empowering women, and they learn why it is important for men to become allies.
Wow, Shazadi, I love what you're saying, and please, please stay on stage and share more about this, because I think that the cultural and religious and governmental challenges are really, really a problem. I know some of my own family. So I'm Muslim. And I'm Pakistani too. My background's Pakistani. I was born in Canada, but I'm Pakistani, and within my family, we get together and you see there's women of all across all diverse areas and what they believe and how religious they are. But sometimes when there are women in my family that, have jobs or trying to do different things like this, and then there's this backlash from the other moms or the other aunties in our family about that because they're so stuck on their traditional values and they don't understand the need to empower themselves and bring their voices out there. So I think that is a huge, huge challenge. And, I mean, it'd be good to get some advice on how to navigate that with particularly the government that doesn't support, or they throw laws out there that, disenfranchise or disempower us. That's one of the reasons actually why I've always loved Twitter because, when Elon Musk came and everyone's like, oh my God, Twitter's falling apart. And there are things that have gone worse with Twitter. But people are leaving, right? I was like, no, don't leave. Yeah, fine, you can go to Mastodon or go to Post, but like, there's literally 1/100th of the population there. And the reason why Twitter is so amazing is because it has been the best place to get access to information about, and to build awareness about things going on all around the world, particularly injustice and oppression and things like that, and to build massive awareness and engagement on that on this platform. And right away, it doesn't happen. Yeah, you can have it with a Facebook video, an Instagram video, maybe on LinkedIn, but really Twitter is the place to do this. This is the place where we hear voices from Africa and from Asia, from women, from queer people, from everybody who's marginalized and oppressed. That's why, to me, Twitter is so powerful, and that's why it's so important to have this platform. And as I advise people, if the U.S. could get through Trump, they can get through Elon Musk. Twitter can. So that's my general take. So we have to keep sharing it and advocating it, and again, you sharing your voice. Shazad, if you have like a link or something you want to put up in the nest above, I'd love to have that there. Please put it up there in the nest, or I can do it for you. But because let's promote what you're doing, I'm all for that. I think it's really, really powerful. I'd love to hear from my co-host on this.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of great points that Shazadi, you just shared with us, and thank you so much for doing that. And again, there seems to be this ringing, ongoing theme that, look, more of us women have to come together and bond together. And it doesn't matter where we come from. And it doesn't even matter, like, I mean, globally, look, we're in all different, you know, places at the moment, destinations. We are in one space though together here. So I think that's the important thing to focus on. It doesn't matter how we grew up, all the different pieces. It's really that we're all together at this moment. So I think that's the thing that sometimes we feel like there's barriers, to entry in certain different things. So there's not. And I feel that, well, I was lucky because I grew up in Australia, and luckily my dad was very, very open to my mum. She had a career before they were married, and he encouraged that ongoing. And in fact, even there were moments where he stepped back to support her career because she was making more money. And it made more sense that he actually picks us up from school, my sister and I up from school. So, we need more of that understanding. And I do see a lot more of that happening nowadays. But we need more of that as well. And we need more strong women just continuing to power through and find ways. And sometimes, well, this is sort of from the area of the entertainment industry, but even working on projects, so many of them are also controlled by men. The money is usually the finance for any project, even a small short film. It is funded from a man, not from a woman. I wish there were places where I could connect with women to fund my projects. I have a great Ukraine project at the moment, which is a documentary, but I mean, look, I'm probably going to end up getting funding from a man. This is the truth, because um, women are not willing to risk financially in this area, in this space. So there's very few and far between women that are financiers that come forward and want to be involved in creative projects. And I wish that would change, because we actually have a very top heavy female team. This is the first time, and I'm so excited that we're talking about this topic today, everybody, because, okay, so my producing partner is a female, and the line producer is a woman, and then myself. So we are the three core members of our team are women. Now, that's really powerful that we are leading this, because this really doesn't happen. I'm usually the minority, and there's usually two other men in those positions. So, we need more women to also take risks and to support other women. This is why we're here, and we should have the same opportunity levels as men do. It should be the same, and we should be supporting others. We should be looking out and searching. Oh, well, what's this project? How can I help? If I can't help financially, maybe I can help to put the word out there on a project or something. There's other ways that you can be supportive with projects, with people, with women that you want to lift up. And sometimes it's just about communication and reaching out to those people as well. Make sure that you're proactive, that they know that you want to support them, and then they can figure out creative ways that maybe you could be part of the process, not having to sit in the background thinking, well, I support that, and I'm sending good vibes. But coming back to Bobby's point, sometimes it's about taking action. And so what are you doing? What are those little actions that you're doing? And I think that's really important, and it can make you feel empowered as a woman when you step forward and you take these actions, no matter how small. Okay, it could be the smallest action. You don't have to feel overwhelmed, but just something small, and feel empowered by it. Like, oh, I did that. Wow, I didn't think I could do that. So start small and build. Back over to you, Bobby.
Let's go, Melanie first.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Indra, when you start talking about like taking small actions, I mean, even the fact of like, if Indra puts out that, I have this amazing project, you can retweet that, like even small things like that. I know it doesn't seem like it makes a huge difference, but the truth is you just don't know that one person that may see that. Or commenting on a post, on, LinkedIn or even here on Twitter. And then, maybe you have somebody in your network that you could, potentially introduce, or, start a conversation. But those are the small things. Like those are things that we can do every single day. And, and I'm a big believer in exponential growth. So if you do, the more you build upon that and it exponentially grows. And so giving that person, a little bit of a spotlight. Oftentimes I think when we talk about social media and for, it's so, it's me centric, and obviously we get that, but that social media can actually be used for good too. So being able to be willing to share your spotlight with somebody else that's doing good or somebody else that needs assistance, and looking at who you're supporting as well. Do they look different? Do they come from different backgrounds than you do? Taking an inner look into yourself, because sometimes we have unconscious biases that we're not even, that aren't necessarily, they're not coming from a bad place. And I think we have to do more of a conversation about those unconscious biases. They're not coming from a bad place. It's just something that we've built up. It's it's almost, sometimes they're a little bit of habits. And so look to see, um, am I supporting people that don't look like me or come from the same backgrounds as me? How am I how am I supporting others? And making sure that we're doing that as well. And so I think that's also, so when you talk about small things, they do add up and they are important.
I want to address one thing before we get to the people that had their hands up. Um, it's exhausting, right? And that's a challenge, right? Because when people in power, when people have power and privilege and systemic, I guess barriers against us or against you, it's really, really difficult because it's exhausting because you have to keep talking and fighting and talking and fighting and advocating. And this is something that affects all marginalized and oppressed communities. And I think that is one of the biggest struggles. But the more, which means you have to have more endurance. You have to keep going, keep talking about it. You have to keep advocating, keep using Twitter, keep coming to these spaces, keep empowering more people, encouraging more men and more allies to support you, because then when the voices are so loud and so strong, then that's when you can start to really make that huge impact. So I just want to make that point. Let's go to Ali, then we'll go to Q.
Thank you, Bobby. Uh, uh, yeah, no, I think the way that this debate is or the discussion is going, I think it's going really good, right direction, and we're learning. Uh, but I have a very direct question, Bobby, to you. As a man, when we are in a group, whether it's a job or it's a social network group, um, men, women together, and something happens, and you know that there is a misogyny, you can see that, and you want to stand up against it. You want to call it out, um, and you know that certain things are said or something have happened. And as a man, if you were saying that to your colleague who's a man, he's going to take it differently. But when a woman says that, and then that guy is now, trying to do anything that can, basically try to intimidate that lady or whatever. And when you want to stand up there, there's a big issue. Then I see that how, like, first of all, you'll have different kind of challenge where they are they're going to accuse you of breaking that bro code or whatever, and then at the same time, you're no more part of that group, and more maybe you know a, a, a real man or whatever. So how you deal with those situations where you want to stand up with your women colleague or friend against another friend within the social network, or let's say at work. Thank you.
So let me start by saying that any bro code or any code between people or groups that make you want to not do the right thing and hold true to your values and call out what is right and what's justice and fair and equitable is a wrong code. So I don't care if it's a bro code, a sister code, a queer code, whatever code it is, it doesn't matter. It's wrong. So that's the first thing. The second thing is every single level of where we stand out and speak out is different. So, when someone says something misogynist on LinkedIn on a post or commenting on, let's say, Melanie's post, I will call it because that's easy for me to do. It's very easy for me to do it. Same with tweets. But then if it's more personal or close to your network, maybe it's a little harder. We had a situation once where there was a misogynistic issue, a sexist remark from someone that was in our community. And the first thing I did was I went to the woman that he was in our community he was speaking about, and I asked her, "Listen, I think what he did is terrible. How can I support you?" So I asked her, "How can I support you?" And and then I talked to a few more women in the community, and then I commented, and then I posted and called them out. So sometimes you have to like speak to other people in the community and get some allies, or I guess people that can give you some advice on that. But in that specific case, I did that, and then eventually, after talking, and then I spoke to him individually, and I said, "Look, this is what you did. Here's why it's wrong. Here's your chance to change yourself for the better. And if not, you're going to get consequences." And then he did. He just doubled down on his misogyny, sexism, and I kicked him out. So, so one is talking to the women within my group. The other one is talking to the person privately before I called them out. Although I did call out the comments, I said you need to rescind the comments. But then I said, "Look, we need to kick you out because we can't have this type of behavior in our community," and so we kicked him out. And he came back to me actually a year later saying, I realize the fault of my ways, and I really want to. I admire our connection, admire who you are, Bobby. I want to get back to being part of the. If I can't be part of the community, I want to be your connection. And I said, I'm glad you're working on it. Continue to educate yourself, and that's it. Because I had no interest in, it's not my job to educate him. It's his job to educate himself. So I personally don't want to be part of this community or contact them anymore. So that's what I did. But that's kind of my take on, what I would do as a man in these situations. And I understand it's uncomfortable. Every change in conflict is uncomfortable. So is fighting oppression. It's uncomfortable. I mean, there are times when I haven't stood up and said anything because I'm human. I mean, there's times where I haven't spoken up, as a parent to advocate for my kids, or like, when my kid had that terrible teacher, and I felt like a jerk not saying anything, but I didn't want to say anything because I felt embarrassed. So it happens. So I forgive myself too. Like, if I forgive myself if I don't do it the first time, or I did do it one time. But at the same time, I'm continuing learning and growing in terms of how to say things, what to do, how to navigate that. Let's go to Q, and then we'll go to Dustin. Go ahead, Q.
Hi, thanks, Bobby, Melanie, and Indra. I mean, great space. I think this year's been quite heavy for me personally uh, because of the oppression that's been going on globally. Look at what's going on in Afghanistan, Iran, my own country, Pakistan. I mean, I think Shazadi covered it like quite well. And even in US, I mean, it's been so many years, and the pay gap is 82% to 100, right? So, I mean, I have been speaking about this for a while now, and on even on Twitter, there's just like so much trolling and so much like kind of like aggression that sometimes I'm like, do I really want to do this? And it's really exhausting. And I think it's great that you guys are holding this space because at least you're able to steer it in a very positive direction. You're talking about internalized misogyny. I mean, I think that's one point that I did want to talk about because I suffered from it as well. I mean, as women, we are always taught coming from like, the culture that I come from, be harsh on women and expect the worst from men anyway. So that was really toxic, and it took me a long time to unlearn it. I'm still trying to unlearn it. I wouldn't say I've perfected it, but boy, I mean, what a process that was. And I do encourage all women to give other women a chance to just speak up and be more tolerant with each other. And last but not the least, Bobby, I loved what you said. I think I'm going to quote it in a tweet after the space. You said that men need to, like, what, as a man, as an ally, I call other men out. And that was just awesome. I loved hearing that because I don't hear that enough from men in around my circle. People are so afraid of social boycott and not being able to be a part of a group that even when they see that something wrong is going on, they just like hold themselves back and they never speak out. So wonderful. I love that you said that, being a man, and thanks for saying that. I hope that encourages other men to do the right thing. Thanks.
There's my awesome sound effects. So thanks so much for that. And yeah, of course, we're always going to. I'm always going to call it out and advocate for it. So I really appreciate it. Let's go to Dustin. Go ahead with your question or comment.
Thanks, Bobby. So I saw Q and then I joined the space. And even before the space started, she shared the link as well. So I just wanted to say a few things here because I'm working with the movement. And when I say movement, I have to think like twice before naming that movement. But you guys all have an idea about which movement I'm talking about. Because the trolling is not just limited to the internet. That harassment and the bullying is not just limited to the internet. It's more than that. It's about the life threats that, unfortunately, the women who are fighting on the forefront have they receive. And that's very alarming, very, very alarming. First, the government, the government and whoever the people are responsible to provide us the security to at least like ensure that we are able to conduct our protest, our rally on the 8th of March. And it's a peaceful rally. What do? We are not holding weapons, or we're not like, destroying any property. We are women. We are the marginalized community. And with us, there will be like transgenders, all the communities. who wants to come up on the street on the 8th of March, what are they expecting from the government? Just an NOC, that's it, and we get rejected, and then we'll be called as people like we are foreign funded is the term that is used in Pakistan a lot, that we're getting funds from the US or the UK or whatever. But the ground reality is that all these women that I'm talking about, they go and do so many community visits that people don't want to even research about it, don't want to even talk about it. It's all over our social media, but we don't get a single appreciation tweet from a man in Pakistan that this is the case. Dude, we are actually talking about the forced conversions, talking about the missing persons. We are talking about the bonded labor. We're talking about the issue of the wages. So still the government purposefully, they deliberately, they try to overlook the demands. And most of our demands are, we are just repeating those demands because we never met. So, I mean, as a woman, I would just say that more power to the brave women of Pakistan who, despite all these challenges, they come out on the streets and make a mark. It's very tough. It's very tough. And I just want to, through your space, I want to pay a tribute to all those, not just women, all the marginalized communities, transgenders, all those people who have a heart of gold. I would say that they understand this issue and they know, there's a price to pay, but they're still willing to, take the risks. It ain't easy, but when you see so much oppression around you, you just can't sit silent. There's a limit to this oppression as well. So I think I'm just gonna cry now. But more power to the women in Pakistan. Of course, I want to show my solidarity with the women in Iran and women in Afghanistan. Oh my gosh, they are so brave. They are so brave that they're still fighting the worst humans that we could ever witness. So yeah, thanks for giving me the platform, Bobby. I just wanted to speak my heart out, and you actually let me do it. So yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, you did a wonderful job. This has been such an incredible conversation. I encourage everybody, and one thing you can do as well is, if you hear some really amazing stuff from people, tweet it out there. Take a picture of this talk, this show, or whatever it is, and then tweet out there. Here's the 2-3 things that people said. Tag me so I can retweet to my 500,000 followers, so that more people know about the amazing things that people have said in this room. Because I've heard some really great things from so many of you. And after this is over, take the replay and tweet it out there and share it with and share your 3 main points that you saw, and let's get more people to listen to this, to hear the amazing things that people have heard. And again, I allowed for all the tweets up in the nest above about what's going on in Pakistan too. By all means, this stuff's important to me, and not because I'm just Pakistani as well, but but also because I think it's really important. I've been inspired by women in Pakistan, Iran, and Afghanistan, and you name it. And of course, I look at my own family here in Canada. We have such a very diverse group of women here, and I have and I have all different types of people in my family. People who are niqabi, people who are hijabi, people who are none of those, and they're more westernized, and we're all. And I support them all in terms of my cousins, my family, and I love them very much. And I think every single one of them has a right to be who they are and express their life the way they want to live it. And so that's why I think this is so important. We have a lot of people who are on stage who are requesting. So. Let's go to Truth Teller, Amber. Please go with your question or comment. Hi.
Hi, Bobby. Bobby, I just wanted to say thank you for hosting, as always. I'm not sure if any of you are aware of a lady called Lisa Johnson. She's a self-made millionairess who I'm, delighted to know it being a wider circle, and she has had a landmark case, which a lot of you will be interested in, regarding trolling and bullying online. A lady did this, and the case was in the Royal Courts of Justice on Thursday of last week, and she put it in her closed Facebook group. There's only about 400 of us on it, not many for somebody with a big profile. But she's got a small group with some of us, and it has been come out in the Daily Mail today. For some reason, every time I try to tweet it, it won't let me tweet it. But it was basically, she won a libel battle for somebody calling her a bully and fraud online and claiming that her business was a scam and etc. And this lady then tried to set up a rival business. Now, Lisa got the maximum of 25,000 damages for this, and she actually gave it to the anti-bullying charity in the UK, which she is an ambassador of. So I messaged her because I've been having trolling, which is why my account's been protected, and the police are trying to help me with this. I've had horrendous things about things like me being unqualified, my child had been put in care. It's all lies, but just trolls. But Lisa just messaged me, and she did say that I've done it for coaches, etc., women and others, because there's no precedent as yet. Now, that person was in Jersey, which is outside UK jurisdiction as well, which is the other reason why she wanted to do it. So the other woman had to pay all costs as well, which is 35,000. So I think that's really important to bring up, that we do now have a legal precedent on that. So I don't have 25,000 to throw around to take someone to court. But sorry, 35. But I think it's really important that we highlight this a bit more, so that to help protect people, so those trolls might have a second thought. So that's really what I wanted to say, apart from thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much for coming on stage. We do appreciate you being here and sharing your thoughts. And we've been here now for an hour talking about how to empower women and encourage men to be better allies as we gear up for Women's History Month, International Women's Day, and whatnot. And I think the conversation has gone in a really interesting direction. Some really great and powerful stories about oppression and how we can fight it. I think, again, going back to what I was originally saying, like when you're dealing with people in power and privilege, when you're dealing with governments, when you're dealing with cultures that are intrinsically patriarchal or have rules and laws that holds back, it's far more exhausting, far tougher. But that's why it's so important to have the endurance, to have the allies, to have the support to try to get there. Before we go to the next person's hands up, I want to point out that we're over an hour in, and I actually have in the nest. I'm doing actually a webinar on building a thought leadership brand for yourself. It's 5 days of free training. If you're interested in actually getting access to this, you can click the link above there and take a look at that, because this is basically 5 hours of my best training that you're going to get access to. So you might find it really helpful, really enjoyable, and also good for your brand, whether you're building a digital presence here on Twitter or LinkedIn, or whether you're trying to build your brand across platforms and in your community. So take a look at that link. I want to make sure you take a look at that. Let's go to Feminist. Welcome, Feminist. Please go ahead with your question or comment.
Thank you. Urdu allowed or not?
Unfortunately, most people in the audience don't know Urdu, so you have to stick with English. Sorry.
So I am switching to word listening.
Okay, no worries. I appreciate that. But thank you for coming. Obviously, a lot of people from the Pakistan Aurat movement are here, which is great. I appreciate that. But I also want to see if anybody else has anything they want to share or ask a question about. I guess the question, and I wish I could get Shazadi back on stage here, but I was really liking what she was saying. But I guess the question I have is, what do you? I mean, it's important to have people who are also advocating to help educate communities and governments, and I think lawyers and advocacy people like that are really important in this cause. Certainly, we have them. We see a lot of people in the U.S., for example, a lot of lawyers who are advocating for trans people who are now being attacked on all different ways too. And I think there's a lot of and a lot of women too are also supporting the cause. One thing I want to mention too, and I'll maybe see how Melanie and Indra think about this too. I really do love the concept of intersectionality, and the reason is because before that existed, before I even knew about what that actually meant, it really helped me it helped me because before that I was like, okay, I'm a man and I'm Pakistani and I'm Muslim. Okay, great. So I have like those three things that kind of who I am that define me. But intersectionality, I believe, is far more nuanced and allows me to identify and connect with different people. What I explaining to my wife the other night, we had one of our in bed talks, right? And I said the reason, like before, I was labeled as these three or four different things. I'm Bobby's left-handed, Bobby's a man, Bobby's a big guy, Bobby's Pakistani and Muslim or Canadian, whatever it is, right? But what I liked about intersectionality is that I started to see myself in different frameworks because you could say you're Muslim, but there's different aspects and levels of being Muslim. You could say you're a man, but there's different types of being a man. There's if you could say you're Canadian, different types of Canadian. And so I started to see myself not as labels that are in just small or labels in particular groups, but I saw myself on an intersection in a web of my life and who I was connected to and how I was connected to them. And I love that aspect of intersectionality because it allows us to, I think, create greater connection and greater community with each other, which actually allows us to be more empowered, allows us to be more and to be better allies. So I thought that was a really interesting piece. I'm a big fan of intersectionality and how I can use it now to not just define what's important to me, but also help me understand and connect to other people. Melanie, what do you think about that? If you're there.
Yeah,
Okay.
no, sorry. No, I mean, I absolutely agree. I mean, I think on many ways, I look at the work I do in Honduras, for example, which, started kind of on a, I wasn't expecting it to impact my life in the way that it has, but, my best friend and I now have, a very small nonprofit, and we're really trying to create in a very small village in the southern part of Honduras, create a community, a safe community for young girls in particular, so that they can finish school. And it may not be the same here in the in North America or the States in particular about what some of those goals are or what that looks like, but being able to give them opportunities that maybe they didn't have otherwise. So I connect on it's funny, I don't I connect now with that community from from a global sense, which again, if I look back at my I would never have told you growing up in Missouri that would be on my landscape. That wasn't something that I saw myself, I mean, ever doing. I don't know anybody that probably does, but being able to connect with somebody and have that connection and have that bond with a community and others, I think is so important. And it's also life changing when you start to look at it through a different lens.
Yeah, thanks, Melanie. Indra, what do you think?
Yeah, I'm gonna piggyback off what just Melanie just said, and I think the thing is, what she mentioned was that how powerful it can be, even if like she and I love that you mentioned, well, it's not a huge nonprofit, but the thing is that you're actually taking steps forward, you're making a difference, and all those lives that you're touching in that one you know organization that you've created, the nonprofit, that's what really counts. And the other thing is you're going to inspire other people to do the same thing, to offer charity, to develop young women. One of the things that I have been doing ever since, well, even at the beginning of my career, my creative career, I still have my corporate job. When I was hosting and producing my first project, it was a music show in Australia. And what we would do is we would always have like a couple of young teenagers that we would invite in to learn behind the scenes. And of course, they always had to bring their parents, and because we would be shooting in the evening. And the thing is, we would always choose women. We would always choose young women that were interested, because they seem to be the most, like, almost not, like, should we even be doing this? Well, yes, you applied for this, so yes, we're going to encourage that. And to take on some young women as teenagers has always been an amazing thing. Even with my production company now, I'm a mentor to two young women. One is 19, the other one is 21, and I continue to do that because I think it's really important that we invest in our youth, that we give our time back, and that they feel like they're supported. And okay, well, I don't have the financial reach to be, reaching out to hundreds or thousands. That would be an amazing dream. But even with these two, at the moment, I feel like I'm making a difference to their life. And it's almost like you lead by example, like Bobby also does as well. It's taking some action and doing those things that you think, well, oh, I could do that. Well, don't think about it. Reach out to the people and offer what you can offer. It doesn't matter how small it is. It doesn't matter if it's only 4 hours a week or 2 hours a week of your time. I think it's about taking those actions that's really important. Back over to you, Bobby.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I think, unfortunately, I'm going to have to go soon, guys. This has been a really amazing discussion, and I appreciate all the contributions people have had. I'm just about to put another link above regarding the live stream that's going to be about women, empowering women, but I'm trying to find it. In the meantime, why don't we have Melanie and Indra give some final thoughts while I find that tweet.
Yeah, just thank you again, Bobby, for always sharing the stage. And I think today's conversation has actually been so good. It's been enlightening. We've been able to hear so many different stories from all across the world, and I think that's the power right here of Twitter in particular. Other social media platforms have that as well, but truly the power of Twitter. But and just continue. And I think the takeaways. I'm going to go back to what Indra had said earlier. Is like those small things, the small steps that we do, the small actions that we take. They build up. If we did one small action every single day, it becomes a cumulative effect and it becomes a greater power. So just to really encourage yourself to take a step back and look at where you can, how you can make an impact on somebody's life today and moving forward. And I'll pass it over to Indra.
Yay, loved all of that, Melanie. And I also just want to just leave everybody with some of the things about mindset to think about. As a woman, sometimes I think you probably think that you might even not be making a difference. That any effort that you do might not be worthwhile. But let me tell you, the smallest, tiniest little effort is worthwhile. Everything that you can do, everything that you can support with other women. And I know that one of the topics that we were talking about was supporting other women. I feel like this is really, really important. Even, I'm seeing a lot more men come over and be more supportive. I'm working with a lot of male colleagues that are so supportive towards women, but I want to see more women reaching out because, look, we don't know what everybody else is thinking, but the way to do it is to reach out, to take some action and to do that. And also just, now and again, step out of your comfort zone with whatever you're doing in life. And it really doesn't matter where you are in life, but what I usually find is you discover gems when you step out of your comfort zone. Do something that are beyond the safety boundaries of oh, well, maybe I shouldn't DM that person, or maybe I shouldn't like that post, or whatever it is. And these could be the smallest things, but do them so that others around you see the example. And then also, you never know what connections you could make. And it's okay if you're thinking, maybe I could get a connection out of this, maybe I might connect with this person, and it doesn't work out because it's not meant for you, or something else will happen, or you'll connect with that person at a later date. So I just want to encourage everybody to be thoughtful toward each other, both men and women, and also especially to go out of your way and connect with some women, and not just today, but think about it. Like if there's an opportunity that arises in the near future, go out of your way and do it. And just believe that whatever's meant to be will be. I hope everybody has a great week. And I encourage you to check out Bobby's amazing course. Any course that he teaches is amazing. He gives 200%. I really have to say that. I also hope that I will see a lot of you in the Positivity Vibe Tribe space on Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And actually, we're doing a very uniting space because it's introverts and extroverts unite. So how our differences actually bring us closer together and how they're powerful, our differences. So I hope to see you all. Sending you all love, light, and blessings. Until next time, thank you for having me.
Awesome. Thanks, Indra. Thanks, Melanie. Thanks to everyone who's been on stage too, all the speakers on stage, all the people in the audience. We do appreciate it. I did share the post up there in the nest. Outstanding Women Who Help Women Stand Out. It's a live stream happening on March 8th, 2:30 p.m. If you want to come by and see what that's all about, we'd love to have you check that out. Those speakers are also really, really great. You know, allyship is a verb, and it starts with us taking action to educate and inform ourselves, and then to get out there and provide opportunities to support, empower, and encourage people who to understand their privilege and the powers that are and the systemic barriers that are at play, and then to actually take the initiative to go out there and support these people and help them overcome those barriers and be an ally and be a support and be the verb that that allyship is really all about. And when it comes to any sort of marginalized group, trans people, queer people, women, Black people, Indigenous, people of color, it's important for us to, again, understand what that is, educate ourselves, talk to the people who are part of those marginalized groups versus coming up with our own talking points from just our bros. Talk to those people, encourage conversation and learning, and then get out there and put yourself out there and stand up for those people. So I will continue to do that. I encourage you all to continue to do that. If you liked what you heard today, the replay will be available. You can share the replay with your followers. You can share the replay. You can share snippets of the replay and record it. Share it on Instagram. Share it on YouTube. Share it wherever you want. This is a public forum, and I'm happy and I'm proud of what we talked about today. It's been really great, and I'm grateful for everyone here. Thank you so much. We are here, the Power Cut Chat, every Monday at 11 a.m. I also do rooms across the board. So I have the Wednesday live stream, which is once a month. I'm doing a Tuesday room tomorrow on LinkedIn at 2 p.m. and one on Thursday at 2 p.m. And yeah, I'm also part of the Thought Leadership Brand Club with Melanie, which is a membership community where we help people build their brands, build their communities, build their digital presence so they can get to that next level. And if you want to learn more about what we do and how we can get you to be part of that community, and you can access our weekly calls and our trainings and all the stuff that we do, including me and Melanie, I invite you to send me a message or ping me, and you can find out more about what I'm doing. All right. All the best to you guys. Take care. So long. Stay safe.